Today, Graham, Kathleen, Beej, Ian, and pretty much everyone else is gone, so it's just me. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. So, the first thing I want to do is ask you, how do I sound? Because if you were around on Saturday when I did a very brief little tech test, and a very brief tech test that went terribly, terribly wrong. Sounds good, no static, sounds good, pulse speech, fine. Okay, well that's good. Because, let me tell you, it's been a morning, and frankly, this whole week is a bit of a write-off in terms of, from a tech point of view. Things have not been going well. There's been some sort of confluence of events has resulted in like various unrelated pieces of technology in the moon base all falling apart at the same time. So that's been fun. The most recent of which was the website. The Loading Rerun website was down starting very, very early this morning. I think, somewhere in the wee hours. Which was not a thing that was our fault. Apparently the web host had some terrible server issues. So, and they spent a bunch of time getting that sorted out, and it seems to be working again now. So yes, haha. Yeah, we have experienced the Omni shambles. Yeah, I don't know. So, if you saw, just to give a quick recap, if you saw, starting last Monday, so a week ago, if you saw Dice Friends, one of the cameras cut out, causing a big audio glitch, and one of the microphones kept cutting out. Then on Tuesday, when James was doing when James was doing one more, the internet cut out and started dropping frames. Then the router messed up and stopped being able to resolve DNS stuff properly. And then the audio on the gaming computer proceeded to not work and cause a giant crackling noise whenever we tried to launch a game. Then on Friday, things were okay. On Saturday, I did a tech test because I fixed the audio problem and the internet problem. And during that tech test, I encountered a new audio problem that apparently was related to our mixer giving up the ghost. So yeah. Apparently, this morning I've been messing around. Oh yeah, Now Kiss also had some tech issues. And, oh yes, right, that reminds me. And on Friday, yeah, during the Friday Night Paper Fight, our overhead camera started dropping frames for no reason. So, one of the things that seems to be part of the issue anyway, I don't think it's the entirety of the issue, but our streaming computer here seems to have, I don't know, ungrounded itself somehow. That so now, for some reason, a lot of the time when USB devices are plugged into it, like USB audio devices, like say the audio input from the mixer, it causes a weird buzz. And that seems to be the case for lots of different items. So I've been experimenting with different things, which is very odd, because I was kind of, the whole reason why we use USB audio for most of our stuff is to avoid that kind of interference, because it's digital. But anyway, so suffice to say, things have been not as relaxed and quiet as I was hoping on this weekend, when the majority of the crew has been away. For those of you who don't know, I think it's there. We mentioned it, and I'm sure if you follow their Twitters and stuff, you can see that. So anyway, maybe it's one of these things where everything goes wrong now so that it doesn't go wrong later. That's probably the best way to think of it. And I just realized why I might not be getting the right kind of light as I should be, because I looked over just now and the light that's supposed to be lighting me from the other side is pointed entirely the wrong direction. One sec. Is that better? I hope so. Anyway. All right. I do hear a bit of background hiss. Thought it was AC or something. I mean, there's always, I mean, obviously there is AC and various other background noises, but ferrite beetle things. Okay. So anyway, that's what I've been doing today. And what I also am doing, or should be doing today, is welcoming subs, because holy doodle, there's been a lot. Which, thank you very much. Oh, how far back we gotta go here? Okay. Sub welcomes. Dunlap MT, thank you for the new subscription. Godort is a thank you for the new subscriber, new subscription. H-Bomb and Friends, that's 50 bits. Thank you very much. Hattie Zero for 16 months. Thank you very much. Red Shoes Jeff has gifted 5 subs. Thank you so much. To S Southard, Southard, Comatose Ferret, Kalash, Tyrion Dearth, and Ugh Sunlight. Buddy McBoseface Jr. with the 26 months says hi. Commander Ud 87 for 13 months in a row. Master 2505. Today it's just Paul. That's true. For 11 months. Mr. Flip with the 66 months. This sub is older than it's ever been, and now it's even older. Mongoose 987 is a new subscriber. Trigger Happy to Pie for 14 months. Hello. Hello to you too. Anti-Crepuscular for 20 months. Hooray for his free Just Paul Awesome. Crispy 042 for 24 months. That's 2 years. Thank you very much. Kane SD for the 62 months. Zerg 539. Hey Paul, thanks for holding down the fort. Everyone else took a well-deserved vacation. Here's to 26 more months. It's my pleasure. Commander Red 87 with the 100 bits. The Woogly is a new subscriber, which is not true. The Woogly has been around for a while. I thought we didn't have the new subscriber. I thought like we weren't, people didn't lose their sub streaks. I don't know how this works. Anyway, thank you, the Woogly. Thoroughly Average Gatsby, as opposed to the Great Gatsby, is a new subscriber. That is an excellent name. Thoroughly Average Gatsby. Chi7891 is a new subscriber. Klee Crew for 18 months. Thank you very much. Maricat with the 200 bits. 100. Sorry, the moon base seems to be falling apart tech-wise. Hope it gets resolved soon. We'll figure it out. Nint8835 for 10 months in a row. Thank you very much. Skirt01 for 27 months. The Green Monster for 4,500. Wait, no. 450 for 26 months. Goblin Ranger for 22 months. Augyan the Silent is a new subscriber. Welcome to the show. MT Storm for 41 months. Commander Ed with the 100 bits. Onyx Seeker for 7 months. Lady Sephiroth for 9 months says, sup baby. Master 2505 with the 100 bits. Paul, is the streaming connector connected to the new Switch? Might have changed the ground reference depending on how old or the new connectors are built. Shouldn't, I mean, this is, I guess maybe that would be crazy. Like, that's like way in the other room. Glodnox for 20 months says, hi Paul. Pigburner, 21 months. Hi Paul. Wampa X for 57 months. Argyle Janner for 12 months. Gosh, a whole year already. Thanks for 12 months of fun. Bandwidth Raptor for 38 months. Ashiok Nightmare Beaver for 23 months. Sub for more Paul. Nabera for 26. That's 2 baker's dozen months. Exactly. Always do the baker's dozen months. You don't want to get fined for not having enough months. Budget DM, 37 months. Wow, somebody with worse tech issues than me. Yeah, I hope I can make you feel a little bit better about your own tech issues. Trevor84 for 27 months says, hi Paul. Flathead for 7 months. And Tomasu82 for 29 months. Holy doodle. So many people. Thank you all so much for your kind words. And I don't know, maybe it's something that would be, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I guess the problem with the mixer did start around the same time as I installed the new router. But I don't know. Eat bus. Bus. Desert Bus. This is the Desert Bus 2018 shirt. Very, very cool. Anyway, this is not just a stream where I just welcome subs over and over and over again forever. Although, despite what it might seem like, this is in fact what we call ChillPoint. And for those of you who haven't seen the show before, or this particular version of the show before, ChillPoint is kind of like CheckPoint. If you see, when we do checkpoints on the regular checkpoints on Mondays, we come online and we do about 5 or 7 minutes of our scripted show of CheckPoint, jokes and stories that we've pre-written. And then we spend some time talking about the things, giving a little more detail about the various stories, or talking about stories that are interesting but didn't fit into a story for CheckPoint and stuff. This is that, except I'm not doing the actual CheckPoint part. So this is exactly the same as CheckPoint, but just without like CheckPoint. It's all the CheckPoint. It's all the stuff in a broadcast of CheckPoint, except the actual broadcast of CheckPoint. If that makes sense. So, CheckPoint minus. I like to think of it as ChillPoint plus. I've forgotten now why. I guess it's because it was live. I think it's when we went to doing CheckPoint live, we changed the name to CheckPoint plus, as in it was like CheckPoint live, and then plus like all the like post stuff as well. But I feel like the plus aspect maybe hasn't really been communicated very effectively. Couldn't pick username for 29 months. Says, hi, Paul's beard. How's it growing today? Pretty good. Pretty good. It's a little trimmed, actually. It was getting a little unruly, so I had to do some trimming lately. Okay, so let's talk about video game news. How about that? That's the thing that I do on this show, is talk about video game news. What kinds of news is happening lately? Well, those of you who are, you know, up in video game talk, who are up on the latest video game stuff, and especially if you've been watching one more, Apex Legends is a new game that is it's a battle royale style game by the makers of Titanfall. That by all intents, it sounds like it's a really great game, free to play battle royale game. Now, and it's been very, very popular. It's been tons and tons and tons of people have been playing. There is one person and one group of people, though, who are not super happy about it, and that is the developer of a game called Apex Construct. So Apex Construct is a VR game that was released back in March 2018, so about a year ago now. So released way before Apex Legends. And Apex Legends is a free game. Like, it's a free-to-play game. Apex Construct is not. Apex Construct is a VR game that actually looks really neat, but it's like $30. But apparently, they have sold more copies in China in the past week, or the past since Apex Legends has come out, than they've ever sold. Than they sold, you know, in the entirety before time. Especially Apex Legends is not, as far as I know, is not actually available in China right now. So I guess people in China look for Apex, see this game, and then buy it, despite the fact that it's not Apex Legends, it's a VR game, and it's $30, whereas Apex Legends is free. So, and then of course, the problem is that people get it, and they then, once they find out that it's not the game that they thought it was, so the guy, he posted in the developer posted in Reddit saying that we're assuming that the company is not kind of banking on these sales, right? The company is assuming that their 4,000% sales increase is going to result in a ton of chargebacks as well. But the problem is that, so it's not only is it going to result in a ton of chargebacks, which is never very good, but apparently they're getting tons of like bad reviews from players who bought the thing, which is really stupid. So anyway, if for some reason you are on the Steam store and you're so blinded by your excitement for Apex Legends that you literally type Apex and buy the first thing on the list, please look again. And from what I understand, they've been in contact, the developer's been in contact with Steam to make sure that the chargebacks and the negative reviews don't actually don't impact their that Steam knows what's going on. It doesn't look like they're doing some sort of anything that's their fault. So, and hey, maybe a couple people anyway will like buy it and end up realize they have the wrong game and then be like, oh hey, this game's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a VR, like, it's not only is it a $30 game that people are buying instead of the game that they want, and the game that they want is free, but it's a VR game. which Apex Legends is not. So if people are buying this and then being like, oh, Apex Legends is a VR game, I now have to get a whole VR headset, and then going and getting the VR headset and then coming back and realizing that the game they got is the wrong game, that's very silly. Apex Legends is even on Steam. Oh, really? For some reason, I thought it was on Steam as well. Well, there's another thing. It's not even supposed to be on Steam. Anyway. Right, of course it's on Origin. It's an EA game. I mean, to be fair, I have also fallen into the trap of being like, every game is on Steam. We've done that a few times for like games of chance or whatever. I'll just, whatever the game was has shown up, or I'll be just like, Steam, boop, 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 boop. What? I don't understand. Where's the game? And realizing that it's actually on, like the Ubisoft store, or the Origin, or now Epic store. Anyway, that's silly. Rainbow Six Siege, which very cool, which is a cool game, by the way. We played it a couple times. I mean, we've played it on stream a few times. Played it on the LAN. A lot of fun. I know people here in the office have kind of picked it up at various times, but it is now going into its 4th year, and like a lot of these online games, they tweak it. They release updates sort of on a seasonal basis because they have competitions and stuff, and so they don't want to change. They don't want to release balance changes and stuff in the middle of a season, because obviously that will mess with the rankings. And so they're coming into their 4th year, and one of the big changes that they're making is to friendly fire. How they're changing friendly fire. Apparently, there's a lot of issues with. They've had a lot of issues with sort of trolling stuff with people. Because the problem is, the thing with friendly fire is that you can kind of troll it either way. Like if friendly fire is on, as in you can hurt people, then you can hurt people on your team. Then, the troll person can go around and shoot his own team. If friendly fire is off, so that you can't hurt people on your own team, then the troll person can spend a lot of time running in front of their teammates, blocking their shots. It's really a pain in the ass. So they have a new strategy, which is friendly fire will be off, or friendly fire is off. So you can. So the new friendly fire system is, you can hurt your opponents, or you can hurt your teammates once. If you shoot a teammate and he dies, like if you kill a teammate, and inadvertently, or for real, I guess. But if you shoot a team, if you kill a teammate through friendly fire, you get next time you shoot that person. I think it's next time you shoot that person, not you shoot every person. Not only will friendly fire not work, so the friendly fire will be off, as in you can't hurt them, but it's actually friendly fire will reverse damage. So damage you try to do to that person will come back at you. So yeah, it's an interesting idea. So that's not the case all the time. Like when you first start the level, damage isn't reflected back at you. But after you've killed somebody on your own team, then that activates. But I believe there is a thing that the person who got killed can can like forgive it. So if it is like a legit mistake, you know, somebody put a mine somewhere that you weren't expecting or whatever. So if it is a legit friendly fire mistake, you can like forgive the death, and the person won't go into this reflected damage mode. So interesting idea. It's always interesting, you know, how little tweaks like this will change how people play the game, and hopefully for the better, right? There's also obviously there's a bunch of other new stuff. New maps are coming out, changing little adjustments, new characters to play, and that kind of stuff. But anyway, it added reflected damage for the fire world warships is probably abused. Yeah, it's an interesting. Like it could be obviously the implementation details of it, which they haven't really. This is just a like big announcement, so they haven't gone into the nitty gritty details. But the implementation details of something like this is very important, obviously. Let me. Wardeno for 5 months in a row. Are you guys going to Magic Fest Las Vegas? I do not know. We have gone down to Magic GPs and various things in Las Vegas before. I do not know what the current plans are for that, if there are any. Pharaohbender 27 with the 250 bits. Sorry to hear about the recent tech woes in the Moonbase. Here's to the rest of 2019 going more smoothly. Thank you very much. All right. The Fortnite Festival is I love this story in Kotaku. You can tell it's a good. You can tell that something bad is going to happen when the first sentence is in the proud tradition of shows like DashCon and Fire Festival. Because this is not official. This is an unofficial thing. They tried to do this Fortnite festival, Fortnite Live, in Norwich, in England, which billed itself as the ultimate Fortnite battle royale, which would have dance battles, archery, rock climbing, big screen broadcasts of YouTubers, banks of PCs to play Fortnite on, blah de blah de blah. And apparently it was just one of these things where it was very poorly organized. You know, it took forever for people to even like get into place, and once they got in, there was nothing to do there. Blah de blah de blah. You know, we've sort of heard this stuff before. Obviously, you know, the trick with a lot of these, the nice thing, I guess, sort of nice thing about a lot of these festivals is like, you know, there's been a couple of the documentaries come out recently about Fire Fest, and you know, which is so far above all of these other kind of festivals. Even, I mean, DashCon was pretty bad too, but Firefest is so far above in terms of, you know, complete omni shambles, because of its because of how ambitious it was, right? There's a limit to how far you can fall when you're charging, you know, 12 to 20 pounds, 15 to 25 bucks per ticket, right? The worst that can happen generally is that, you know, you fail to put the thing on and people are out the 20 bucks, 25 bucks, right? Whereas with the Firefest, people spent thousands of dollars and were also stuck on an island. But yeah, so apparently they set this thing up. Just under 3,000 people showed up, which they were unprepared for that many people. Took forever to get them all signed in. And then once they got signed in, they found out stuff like the PC section where people could play Fortnite cost money to play. Which Fortnite is a free-to-play game, so if people had just stayed home, they could have just played Fortnite at home. So yeah. Horizon Rise 1, anybody getting an echo? Do you have perhaps the stream open in 2 windows? I've had that happen before. So anyway, anybody who if for some reason, I feel like the demographic and also the people who would be awake at this time of day, probably, I would guess there's probably nobody in the chat right now who went to this festival or attempted to go to this festival. But if you did, they're giving out refunds, cause terrible. So I initially thought this story was. I initially was like, oh, this is a cool thing, because I assumed it was like Fortnite Fest, which I believe is actually like in-game stuff that they do. But nope, this was a real-life festival where they tried to get people to come out, and I mean the whole thing is sort of. It's kind of a weird idea to begin with, right? It's like, you all love Fortnite. Let's get you to come out and do stuff that isn't Fortnite. Like rock climbing. Like, people enjoy aspects of Fortnite. People like Fortnite not because they're like, oh man, I like building houses. It's like, you love building houses? Oh man. If you like playing Fortnite, you're going to love working for Habitat for Humanity. That's like not the aspect of Fortnite that people are really like going for. All right. Final Fantasy IX just came out on Switch and Xbox. Which is like, yay! Except boo. Because if you have a Switch or an Xbox and are also a Final Fantasy IX fan, for one thing, chances are you already have it. You've already played it on another thing. But also, I'm afraid that this version is a port of the PC and PS4 version that came out last year. So there's a PC and PS4, Final Fantasy IX came out on PC and PS4 last year, which itself was a port of the iOS version of the iOS and Android version of Final Fantasy IX that came out a few years before. So they took the iOS and Android version, ported it to PC and PS4, and now they have now ported it to Switch and Xbox, and yeah, apparently they have not fixed any of the problems, which were fairly rampant in the PC and PS4 version. For one thing, it still has like a touch style interface, like with really big buttons, as if it's on an iOS device. Plus, there were some like weird, so it's like, it looks really ugly, the interface. The game is just as pretty as it always was, but the actual like UI aspects are kind of ugly. And then there's a few weird like bugs and glitches in it that have not only caused like crashes, but also my favorite thing is the there's a music bug that is a long-standing thing from the iOS version, is that if you go into a fight, and then if you're on the overworld and then go into a battle and then come back out, the overworld music always starts from the beginning. Like, it doesn't, when you come out of the battle, it doesn't just continue the overworld music. It always restarts the music when you come out. So, you know, in these kind of games where Final Fantasy, you'll often have quite a few random battles. It's entirely possible that you'll only ever hear like the first 30 seconds of the overworld music, which is not cool. Plus, the other aspect, the other thing apparently is that there's one of the things that they added in the port, which is theoretically a big a improvement over like the original version. Was that you can fast forward through things in certain circumstances, or you can fast forward through stuff, so you can like, combat and things. You can just tap on it quickly and fast forward through the animations and stuff. Except the problem is that the version for Switch doesn't just fast forward through the combat. It fast forwards through everything in the game, and you have to like go into the menu and say fast forward, and it'll start fast forward mode. And then when you want it to stop, you have to go into the menu again and go like turn off fast forward, rather than just like toggling it with a button or something. So it's just kind of unfortunate that, it's another one of these things where it's like, Square Enix, Final Fantasy, it's like the most, one of the biggest franchises sort of in terms of name recognition and stuff. And it's a shame that they don't care. It seems like they don't care as much about it, that they're not going to spend the effort to do it properly. So anyway, so if you're into the game, now you can legit, now you can get it on Switch, and obviously playing games on the Switch is super nice. But know that this is the same if you have an iOS or an Android device. This is the same version that you could have gotten on there, and they haven't fixed anything. If you were hoping for they fix that, so unfortunate. A OG original copy of a copy of Super Mario Brothers. A copy of Super Mario Brothers for the NES has set a new world record for the video game collecting market, selling for $100,150. $100,150, which is a lot of money. I feel like that overshadows the previous highest record selling video game by quite a lot. Now, there are some extenuating circumstances around that. That isn't like if you happen to have a copy of Super Mario Brothers, don't think that your copy is worth $100,000. One, this is a absolutely mint condition copy, still factory sealed. But not only is it still factory sealed, this is a factory sealed version of the test market launch version of the NES, which rather than being shrink wrapped just has like a sticker across it to seal it. So it wasn't but it's like it hasn't been opened. It's still in absolute mint condition, never been opened, and this factory seal sticker from the test market launch of the NES is still intact. So, it's one of these collector thing, right? Like there's only the number of these that is available. Apparently, only between 2,000 and 10,000 copies of this test market version were ever made, and a unopened box an unopened box. They estimate that there's maybe a dozen of these that exist in the world now. So, you know, that's how it goes. Obviously, people aren't buying it to like because they're super excited about Super Mario Brothers and want to play the game, because you could do that anyway. This is about a sort of, it's a memorabilia thing, right? Um, 8-Bit Dreams for 8 months in a row says CheckPoint minus Graham plus Kathleen plus Paul squared equals CheckPoint plus. Math checks out. Ampenstein for 20 months in a row says 20 prime months of primeness. Thank you very much, and thank you to Amazon for giving you that subscription. Tinosaurus Rex for 13 months. Thank you, Paul, for what you've done for the community and your hard work behind the scenes all these years. Keep on being a nice person. Thank you very much, Tinosaurus Rex. Also, great name. Hydra Wiggins for 29 months in a row. Don't let your dreams be memes. Hydra Wiggins. Every time you cut off a mat, two will grow in its place. All right. Everybody's favorite mascot, Gritty, has came out in support of the Philadelphia Fusion Overwatch League. That's right. Gritty cannot be contained by solely NHL fandom. He's now spread out to other groups. I believe this is the first time that an NHL or a pro league mascot has gone to support esports thing. He came out with wearing a Philadelphia Fusion jersey, and he handed out high fives, pumping up the crowd. At one point, a fan offers him a flower bouquet, but Gritty slapped it away. Apparently, Fusion, the Philadelphia Fusion, the esports team, published a video of Gritty visiting the team house on their YouTube channel, at which point he stares down some of the players, demands food, poops in their bathroom, and checks out the hot tub. So yes, slightly misanthropic, but very exciting. Yeah, do any esports teams have their own mascots? Like their own mascots? It seems like a no-brainer, but maybe they aren't big enough. Fusion is owned by the same people as the Flyers, so it makes sense that Gritty would come out. Yeah. Or is this one of the things where like the Philadelphia Flyers owns a section of the Fusion? I know there's a couple of traditional sports teams that own licenses on esports teams as well. Mantifold for 11 months. Thank you very much. Nuts of Odin for 2 months. And Sorice72 for 4 months. You excited for Age of Wonders Planetfall? Except because of how Twitch formatting works, Sorice72 actually wrote, "Are you excited for Age of Wonders Planetfall?" Because they did a : P. It was Age of Wonders : planetfall, and Twitch chose to interpret that as Age of Wonders, stick out tongue, planetfall. Yay for emotes. Ryan P89 is a new subscriber. Thank you. What else we got here? Lots of people have pet ferrets, but do you want a life-size ferret? Which, by the way, is a Pokemon that is big. Pokemon vary a lot in size, right? Like, because there's the thing where I know in the games that like a Snorlax like blocks a road for a while. And yeah, Ferret is a second generation Pokemon that is 6 foot tall. The plush that they've made is 6 feet tall. And here, let me grab the picture of it here. Which, look at that. It's huge. It's like it looks like one of those things that you would put on the bumpers that you would that you would put on a bowling alley to stop kids from going in the gutters. Yes, I believe that could be considered an absolute unit. He's 5 feet 8 inches, or 5 foot 11 inches long. In the Pokedex, he's 5 foot 11 inches long, and weighs 77 pounds. This stuffed animal does not weigh 77 pounds. It's not filled with like lead shot or something. But it is 6 feet long, and weighs a pound, a little more than a pound. And you can have it for about $275, which is actually pretty expensive. But then again, it is ginormous. So yay for that. Wait, here's the front of it. He's adorable, look. I'm fully in favor of full-size Pokemon being created, just to illustrate how big they are. I know that there's been like Snorlax beanbags and stuff. That are ginormous. All right. This is very silly. Evo Japan, which is, as the name suggests, the Japanese branch of the Evo fighting game tournament, which is like one of the biggest fighting game tournaments. They had to briefly take their stream down and issue various apologies and things because they had they did a thing where they were promoting the new DOA, the Dead or Alive 6, and apparently it was somewhat. They've decided it was inappropriate. Apparently, the Dead or Alive 6 people did not consult with the organizers of Evo Japan before or at least Evo Japan didn't know what the content of their presentation was. But not only did it involve, showing, demoing the game and demoing like the camera controls by zooming in on various aspects of the female fighters. They also, kept like pausing it in the middle of grappling moves where fighters happen to be in extremely suggestive positions. And then also they brought out spokesmodels who proceeded to have a conversation about the jiggle physics and how realistic it was while demonstrating it themselves. So yeah, as you might guess, this went over very well with the Twitch chat. But they decided, so they took the stream. They actually like took the stream offline. I guess they were like, "Oh crap," and then they had like a kill it button. And then they came back and they were like, "The DOA ad that aired in our stream does not reflect core values of Evo or the fighting game community. We ended the stream temporarily to protect the integrity of our brand. We sincerely apologize to our fans." Yeah. I'm kind of conflicted about this, right? Because it's like, I find it hard to believe that they didn't know in like any of the context, any of the stuff that they would be talking about. It seems like it seems a little bit overly sort of protesting to like it's to actually like cut the stream in the middle of what is, you know, a presentation by like the idea that this presentation from a very well established fighting game brand, you know, Team Ninja, Koei, and Koei. The idea that this presentation was so offensive to them that they had to literally like cut the stream. It seems a little excessive to me, but anyway, that was a apparently, and the other thing is like apparently DOA 6 has actually like made some strides in terms of, you know, not emphasizing the jiggling and the and the like outfits of the female fighters and that kind of stuff as much. So, who knows? Yeah, and then of course, you know, there's always the dichotomy in terms of censorship stuff, in terms of like violence versus you know, sexy stuff. That violence is often considered to be much more acceptable. You know, you can show like, say, stuff in like Mortal Kombat of people being totally ripped apart. But as long as their clothes don't get ripped while they get ripped apart, it's fine. It's a little silly. And I mean, this is Evo Japan too, so it's like you can't even sort of blame sort of Puritanism aspect of it, or at least not the sort of standard North American Puritanism. It's just one of those things. Anyway. So normally we don't actually we don't talk too much about layoffs or lights that become unplugged. Normally we don't talk too much about layoffs in studios and things, just because it's kind of a bummer, and you know, it's a fun show. But obviously there's the really big story this last week was Activision Blizzard laying off a whole ton of people. Apparently 800 plus people got laid off at Activision Blizzard, or Blizzactivision, as we often call it. And it's a tough one. Like, it's now there's actually was a really interesting article on Polygon called "What the Hell Happened at Activision Blizzard." That actually had an interesting perspective on it. That's like, we had the best year ever. You're all fired, which is obviously terrible. And the fact that their top management people are getting millions and millions of dollars. But there's this interesting article that was talking about how that's not actually the problem. Like the top management people getting millions and millions of dollars isn't actually the problem, and them having a really successful year is actually unrelated. Like, it's basically what it was a failure of organization, not so much a like, we're greedy and want to and are laying off people so we can make more money. It's less of that and more it's they messed up in terms of their organization and sort of their how they were staffing, where they had expanded a bunch of roles and stuff, and then had to have been sort of adjusting things. They were trying to move their some of their support staff internationally, like opening up different places internationally to support stuff, and then just recently decided that they didn't want to do that and were going to bring it all back down to the U.S. So and then Bungie left, left as well, and then on top of that they have they like, if you look at their production schedule for games, there aren't a lot of games coming out in 2019 in the next little while. So it's basically they just basically didn't have work for people. Like, they mismanaged. It wasn't that they couldn't afford to have these people or they didn't want to keep these people on because they were greedy. I mean, they are, but they mismanaged the actual workflow aspect of it. So they ended up with so they had literally nothing for these people to do. They took on too many staff, and then basically apparently this has been an ongoing problem with Activision Blizzard, where they don't manage their projects in such a way that they always have stuff for people to do, or they always have things for people to do. So they have been apparently run into this issue before, where they're like, we don't have a game going on right now, or there's nothing for these people to do. So whereas obviously if you're managing it properly, you especially a company as big as Activision Blizzard, they can have a couple games going on at once. So hopefully, obviously, yeah, the hope is that they will all these people will find other jobs and stuff. But yeah, it's an interesting problem. Obviously, it's not, it was certainly a failure on Activision Blizzard's part, but I feel like it's a different kind of failure than what has been sort of the common word about it, where it's just sort of like, meh, they're all greedy and whatever. But it's more that they more a case of mismanaging their product cycles stuff. Anyway, one sec. Let me just plug this light back in. Hey, everybody. The actually, there's this article actually talked about an interesting idea, an interesting aspect of that. I saw people in the chat there talking about the union aspect, which has obviously been a big issue lately in the video game industry, and one aspect of that they're talking about this in this article that was interesting is a large portion of these people who are laid off are not developers, right? They're support people, or they're media relations people, or this kind of stuff. So there's the aspect of like, if they're a lot of the pushes towards unionization has been concentrating on developers in particular, but that's not necessarily the only people. That's not necessarily the only people who need to be involved in this kind of stuff. Either a one union, or they need to have their union stuff, and say, yeah, unions don't necessarily fix everything, but it certainly is an aspect, something that's been a lot talked about in the industry. This follow up on a there's no reason why they can't all have a union. Oh yeah, that's not, yeah, I'm not saying that they can't all have a union, but there is an aspect of like, should they all be in the if hypothetically, if you're creating a union for video game people, should they all be in the same union? Should there be, do they need separate unions and stuff? Because of course, the requirements, the requirements and the desires and the working situation of a developer versus a support person, or a developer versus a media relations person is going to be quite different. And so there's a reason why there isn't just one union for everybody in the entire world, right? Like, the idea is that different jobs have different requirements and have different aspects that they consider to be more important than others. So anyway, so follow up on a story that we've talked about before. Fortnite dances, very important. Not I don't know. Is it as important as video game unions? Hard to tell, but it's certainly up there in terms of importance. Can you copyright, these the dances that people do in Fortnite or other games, emote dances? What is the copyright situation around them? In the most recent thing, Alfonso Ribeiro, the Carlton, I'm afraid has been denied the copyright on his dance, which I can see aspects yes and no, but it's an interesting area of because this is obviously, it's not something that's specific to video games. This idea of like, can you copyright a dance? So can you copyright a specific series of moves has actually existed long before video games. But in this case, especially like Fortnite and some of these other games, are making so much money off of these things that are very, very specific. And we talked about this before, that it's difficult to. One of the big aspects with these kind of lawsuits is proving loss of income, or proving the worth of the thing. And sometimes it's very difficult to do that, because if you can do the Carlton dance in a video game as an emote, it's hard to know what kind of value that adds, from a monetary point of view to the video game. However, there are some games, like I believe in Fortnite, where that specific dance emote is a paid add-on, or like or through loot boxes or whatever. And so in that case, you can actually put a real dollar value to, you know, people have paid collectively however many millions of dollars in microtransactions to buy this dance. So it makes it a little easier to legislate on these things. However, at least in this one particular instance, this is not like a universal thing that like no dances can be copyrighted. But this particular dance is not considered able to be copyrighted. It is, to be fair, it is a relatively simple dance. I don't know if that's why, but and it's like, if it is copyrighted, who is it copyright? You know, the actor who danced it, or like the choreographer that came up with it, is an interesting aspect too. Like apparently they put forward, one of the things that they put forward was he danced on Dancing with the Stars. He did the dance, and so they were like, well, your partner, who is ostensibly like the professional dancer on Dancing with the Stars, you know, that person did some of the choreography did sort of choreography for this, incorporating that dance into it. So what part did she have in it? So anyway, yes, more complicated dancing is what's needed. I feel like that's the answer to a lot of questions. Anyway. Hasbro is going to be releasing Overwatch action figures later this year. They're going to be doing Lucio, Sombra, Tracer, Reinhardt, Ana, Soldier 76, Pharah, Mercy, and Reaper are all coming out in 6-inch action figures with props and articulation and stuff. And frankly, the thing that I'm most surprised about this is that there weren't already action figures of Overwatch characters. Like, that seems like a no-brainer. But the characters look great. They've been Figmas for a while. Anyway, but these are not just they aren't just like statues or whatever. They're not like figurines. They're actually like toys, I guess. It's a posable action. It's not a toy. It's a posable figurine. Oh yeah. Also, Anubis169 saying Monopoly Fortnite edition. Guess what? Because it's Hasbro and it's a license. Yep, they're going to do Monopoly Overwatch edition. There must be just like a place at Hasbro that just does Monopolies. Like, that it's just like the Monopoly department. And they just have like a list. You know, they get like Overwatch. Okay, we need whatever 30 places in Overwatch, and we need and so that they just like churn these things out, and they just look through like Hasbro's big book of licenses, take every single and just like, is there a license that is not Monopoly yet? Why is that? Let's make it a thing. actually they farm out most of the Monopoly reskins to USAopoly. What? They don't even make Monopoly. Oh man. So you're saying they don't have a monopoly on Monopoly? Gotta keep putting out. Yeah, it's true. Don't let the Overwatch or the Fortnite or whatever branding fool you. It's still Monopoly. Like, it's still the same game. I feel like, yeah, they're like designed. They're designed to be like, oh hey, that's cool. I will buy that. And then people like play it once and they're like, right, Monopoly, right. Apex Legends, we talked about it a little bit before, but people buying it incorrectly. But assuming you have bought Apex Legends, do you want to see Chappie in it? Chappie being the star of the movie Chappie by Neil Blomkamp. Well, it turns out that apparently Neil Blomkamp would like to see that. And also Vince Impella of Respawn would like to see that. People have this is the age we live in. This is the age we live in. This is how deals are done on Twitter. Neil Blomkamp goes, a lot of people are asking me this in reply to any word on Chappie joining Apex. He says, a lot of people are asking me this. I am down, yes. And then in reply to that, Vince Impella of Respawn Entertainment said, I am also down. It's done. The guy who made the game says he's down. The guy who made the movie says he's down. What more could there be? I believe saying you're down to do something on Twitter is now considered legally binding. Presumably there's, one or two little niggling details that they have to go through, like who actually owns the rights to that character, because it's probably not like the director of the show. But yeah, it would be super stoked. It would be super cool if Chappie showed it. By the way, if you haven't seen the movie, really cool movie with the two people from The Antwoord as they are also starring it as sort of themselves. If The Antwoord was as in addition to being a band, also a like post-apocalyptic gang of thieves, I guess. I don't know what they are, but anyway, they're like, but they're also a band in the movie. Anyway, it's a really neat. It's a really neat movie, and I'm quite a fan of Neil Blomkamp stuff. All right, what else we got going on here? A couple more things. Pokemon Go, which is still very much a going concern. As you may know, there's been ongoing legal kerfuffles about the locations of certain Pokestops, because there have been problems with like either Pokestops being like on people's property, like on private property, or there's been or also in like say the Arlington National Cemetery or the National Holocaust Museum, places where you don't want people to be necessarily like running around doing a Pokemon battle, not really respecting the location. There's also a problem with I know they've had problems with like in other like cemeteries and stuff, people like driving through the cemetery in their with their car, like, and on their phone, and like hitting graves and stuff. Ugh, it's really bad. Anyway, so they've been engaged in this like class action lawsuit um, from people who have been adversely affected by it. The good news is they've said that now Niantic will deliver. They have agreed to they settled just Thursday, and so part of the settlement they're giving. I think they're giving like $1,000 to all the people who are part of the class action lawsuit, but they've also agreed to deliver courtesy reminders to users through the Pokemon Go app whenever 10 or more are catching Pokemon in the same location. I guess that's reminders to be courteous. They also work with public park authorities to remind users of a location's hours of operation because people were like breaking into places after hours. They're also going to maintain a database of complaints and make commercially reasonable efforts to resolve the complaints within 15 days. So there's a lot of wiggle room on that, but hopefully that'll be an improvement. And they will also grant Pokestop or gym removals to homeowners within 40 meters of their property. So yeah, stuff like a California woman says the game has designated her swimming pool as a Pokestop, meaning players have broken her fence and damaged her lawn and been trespassing all over her property. The plaintiffs in the case, yeah, of course, the way class action lawsuits go, the names plaintiffs in the case will receive $1,000 each. The attorneys are getting $8 million in fees and $130,000 in expenses. So at least that's what they're requesting. We'll see how that actually ends up. But and finally, this is a silly story. But in if you've been playing or been watching various people play Kingdom Hearts 3, you might know that in the Toy Story world in Kingdom Hearts 3, there's a video game store in the Toy Story world. In the video game, there's a video game store that is populated with a whole bunch of fake video games that they like designed covers for in the thing, which is funny in and of itself. But I recommend you check out this. Here, let me post this link. Kotaku did a great story where he went through the Zach Zwiesen went through and did parallel universe reviews of all these games that are available in the store. It would be a great Game Jam theme. Actually have it like sponsored by people. But yeah, games like Twinkle Puzzle, Space Cats, Amazing Jam 2001, Cute Chef, Delicious Theater, TikTok Party, Fun Farmer. This actually reminds me of all the awesome fake game boxes that Featherweight, or no, that Mango Pixel did for the 18 games and counting intro, like where it goes through all the things. They did a great job of doing these. It must have been, there's probably like somebody's weekend project or job to, as somebody who has made a variety of fake video game boxes over the years for Checkpoint and ENN and stuff. It's a lot of fun to do. But yeah, also it's cool. Yum Yum Cafe, Perfect Smash, which is a tennis game. Pit-a-Pat Party. There's a game just called Speed and Danger. Blood Fight. Wall Street Ninja. And Wall Street Ninja 2, the sequel. Anyway, and these are all games for the Play Plus, which is the video game. Deep Dark Castle. Oh man. Verum Rex. Awesome games. Yeah, literally any of these could show up on Rhythm Cafe or Now Kiss or any other games. They did a great job. And I think that's all the stories that I had marked for CheckPoint this week. Verum Rex had a trailer too. I love it when I remember when James and I were playing A Hat in Time, on Games of Chance. There's like this whole text-based game that you can, when you log into the computer, you can play. The kind of thing where, but it's the same kind of thing where it's like, they were probably like, okay, there's a video game store, whatever. And then somebody got like super excited about making fake video games and was like, oh, this will be super funny. Let's do this. Sad part is you can't really game jam those that are running into copyright. Well, what they like Square Enix or Nintendo or Disney or somebody, somebody who actually owns the license to all those games, which I guess are now their copyright, should sponsor the game jam, not just a random one. All right. So that's all the news. Couple things I wanted to talk about. So that's the end of CheckPoint and the end of the video game news. For those of you who don't know, and I saw a question about it, Dice Friends will be on tonight at 5 o'clock, the normal time for Dice Friends. So that's, as usual, everybody's going to be back from their vacation at that point. So no worries about that. Dice Friends, that'll be on the D&D channel, of course. The other thing I wanted to, well, first I wanted to say that I have, through various, with all the other random technical weird issues, I have sorted out the thing with that Now Kiss and one more, the problem that we're making when it went full screen, it went all like weird and glitchy. The sound. So it was we seem to have that resolved now. So one more should be able to play Apex Legends without any problems. Turns out it wasn't actually Apex Legends' fault. So we blamed Apex Legends prematurely. To be fair, it did seem like it was Apex Legends' fault, but it turned out it was not. Because also apparently Apex Legends was also experiencing audio issues for other people. Anyway, apparently it wasn't Apex Legends' fault. I believe it was, at the moment, the conclusion seems to be that it's kind of the fault of the new monitor we got. And it's a combination of the new monitor, interesting technical stuff, combination of the new monitor we got and the way, I guess the way full screen stuff works on Windows. So we got this new monitor for the gaming PC part of our streaming setup that is much brighter and hopefully will be better, so you don't have so much people trying to like play games that are too dark and stuff and complaining about it. So we have a nice new monitor, but it's one of these it's like 144 hertz or whatever, like super fast refresh rate, which is cool, except obviously. So the problem is that the problem seems to be that so we have we had the computer connected into the monitor via DisplayPort, and then of course there's the HDMI coming out of the computer going to the capture card for the streaming computer. The problem is that that worked fine, but it seems to be when you go to full screen mode, like sort of actual full screen mode, not borderless. I guess how Windows does it is one of the things that Windows does is when you go into full screen mode, it tries to make both when two monitors are mirroring each other, like when you have the two outputs mirroring each other, when you go into full screen mode, it tries to set them both to the same refresh rate. When you're not in full screen mode, you can have two different refresh rates. But in full screen mode, it seems to want to make them the same refresh rate. And so it tries to make the HDMI input 144 hertz, which the capture card seems to not like. So I think that's the problem. I think that was the problem. In any case, running the monitor through HDMI rather than through DisplayPort, I think makes it so that it's actually running at 60 hertz rather than 144, maybe. But in any case, seems to make it so that playing games like Apex Legends or whatever doesn't make it go all wibbly. Very weird glitch. The other thing that I think we can talk. I might as well talk about this now. A few months ago now, I did a survey about how people how you learn about our streams, both how you take on how you guys look at the schedule, the calendar, and also how you get informed about when we go live, whether it's through the Twitter posts, which I think I didn't actually tweet when this went live. I'm the worst. In which case, I apologize if apparently you didn't know. Forgot to tweet. Where's that ghost? We need him. Oh, right. I'm the one who sets the ghost on. So either whether you or if you follow the channel, or the various things. So the problem is one of the things that came from the feedback we got was that there's sometimes people miss when we go live. So for one thing, Twitch doesn't send an alert when you go live if it's within 4 hours of when you previously gone live. Now, the more astute among you might know that we tend to do shows in 3-hour chunks, which is very bad. And so sometimes people are not informed when we go live because it's been less than 4 hours since the previous time we've gone live, which is very annoying. And I guess the 4 hours is so that you can't I feel like they could make it like an hour if they really wanted to stop. That would still stop people re-spamming the thing. And then there's also the problem where with Twitter, either we forget about it occasionally. I mean, I don't know when that would happen, but occasionally we forget about tweeting about it, or people either people aren't on Twitter, or even if they are on Twitter, there's a lot of tweets coming in. Especially there's a lot of tweets, coming in. Obviously, we tweet about a lot of stuff and various things, and it can be hard to notice necessarily when we. So, one of the things that I saw suggested, and that I thought I would try to implement, we can and you can let me know how this how it works, is I've set up a special Twitter stream. So basically what I've done is I've set up, in addition to, this is not instead of, but in addition to the regular tweets we do when we go live, that are like, hey, check this out, we're live now, I'm going to be playing this game, it should be super fun. Like when we do tweets that are, and have like a fun picture with it and stuff to try and get people's interest. In addition to that, I've added an aspect to our going online system that will automatically tweet to a separate Twitter account with just the facts. It just tweets out. It tweets the name of the show, the title of the stream, and what game we're playing, and then the link to the stream, which you can see right there, twitter.com/LRR streams. So the idea here is that this isn't necessarily this is not it's less about trying to get people excited about a particular stream, and it's more about just informing you when a stream is available. And the idea here is that it's every tweet is in the exact same format, like it's automated. So every tweet is in the exact same format. Obviously, you'll see that depending on the stream, there's often a lot of redundant information, because often the name of the stream will be like the name of the show and the game we're playing. But that's fine. The idea here is that this information will always be there, so you can be informed about whenever, if you follow that account, you'll be informed whenever anybody goes online, without it getting mixed up with just regular tweets about new YouTube videos or whatever else. Additionally, what you can do is you could set up a filter or set up a search. On Twitter you can say like at LRR streams and Friday night paper fight. If you had you could save that search. You could save a search for at LRR streams Friday night paper fight, and then that will give you that saved search will give you the feed of only Friday night paper fight. So if that's the only stream you're interested in, it will only you'll only see those responses. Or you could say like at LRR streams AFK, and we can see there's War Chest and Pandemic Legacy are the only two streams that show up. So and then there's various more complicated things you can set up with tools and things that if you want to get notifications and things when they go online. So this is just one. There's a bunch of there's some other stuff that survey was very interesting, and I've taken a lot of the advice or the suggestions to heart. The ones that weren't silly anyway. So yeah, hopefully that'll be a useful resource for you. Obviously, we'll tell people about it more than just me talking about it right now. We'll probably tweet about it on the actual Twitter account and post it in various places. Maybe even put it on part of the ad carousel and stuff, so people can know that it's there. But the hope is that not only will this be a way to be informed about streams that you're interested in, but it's also a reliable way. If assuming if you go by these notifications, even if it has been less than 4 hours since the last stream, you'll still get informed when the stream goes online. So yeah, or if you're only interested in one particular type of stream, you can filter it for that. And there's no, and it doesn't require the streamer to do anything. Like, it's automated when we go online. So hopefully it'll happen. And like, for instance, when we go online with now with like Dice Friends, the link that it links to, rather than the twitch.tv/loadingrayrun, it'll link to the D&D stream and get the info from there. So yeah, hopefully that's useful for you. And feel free to send me an email or whatever if you have any issues with it or suggestions or questions about it. Yeah, I'll thought I would let people know about that starting now, and hopefully it is useful to you. Now, let me finish up by putting the lure signal as the avatar. It's not a bad idea, actually. But anyway, last group of subs here. Crorkle for 23 months. Thank you very much. All hail the Pan for 27 months. G-Dwarf for 58 months. Key 6960 for 28 months. Ponfar for 26 months. 26 months of supporting the best Canadians. And hey, I have that shirt. A slightly angrier Krogan is a new subscriber. Venome for 19 months. Paul Point points. Redhorn 144 is a new subscriber. Welcome. Mick Garantor. Mick Garantor. Gurganator. ZX for 13 months says yeet. Banriel, the rare Paul stream I get to attend, 100 bits. Thank you very much. Ghost Was for 27 months. Azura Frael Shop. Azria Frael's Shop is a new subscriber. Welcome. Sethadelphia for 61 months. Whew, over 5 years. Thank you very much. Code Mage for 11 months. 1 non-consecutive year of subbing coming soon. Rura for 2 months. Thank you very much for that, for coming back. And Candy Nuke, the most delicious form of mass destruction, for 42 months. Thank you very much. Difficult series of names to say today. I feel like I make it look more difficult than it actually is. But Azrael Friel's Shop is a new subscriber. See, the whole streaks shouldn't happen. I thought that we'd stopped. I don't know. Maybe it's just how Lurbot is reporting it. We may have to make some adjustments there. Because, yeah, if you're not a new subscriber, the whole point of that whole mess we had a week ago or 2 weeks ago was that now people, now it's cumulative rather than in streaks. Anyway. All right. I'm going to go offline because I'm going to have to go back on, or we're going to be going on with Dice Friends soon, and I've got to do some stuff for that. But thanks for everybody who joined me on this stream, and I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will talk to all y'all later. Bye.